best friends in Atlanta, Georgia, who had an 11-year-old son. And my best friend had mistakenly one day said something about wishing he had another child. So here, my friends Jean and Gail had not heard from me in about a year. And I suddenly was calling saying, I'm in Korea and I met this extraordinary girl. And I said, the grandmother thinks she's sick, but I think maybe we would have to bring the grandmother over also. And I said, I'll pay for the I mean, I had this whole sort of picture. So anyway, I left, and my friends actually said they were very interested in adopting her. And I said, look, I think I'll scare the grandmother to death if I actually write to her and tell her that you're willing to adopt her. I want to go back and talk to her. But I was off on assignment. I figured I'd come back in a couple of weeks and talk to the grandmother. And on Christmas Day, I was in Bangkok with a group of photographers and got a telegram. Back in those days, you got telegrams from Time magazine saying someone in Korea had died and left their child in a will to me. Did I know anything about this? Because I hadn't told them what I was doing because I was so upset with the story they'd run. So I went back to Korea and I went back to Unsuk's village and she was gone. And the house that I had spent time in was empty. It was incredibly cold. No one in the village would tell me where Unsuk was because the grandmother had always hidden her from Westerners, and they had no idea about this request that she'd made of me. So I finally found Myung-sun, her best friend that she used to play with after school every day. And Myung-sun, under some pressure from me and the translator, gave us an address on the outside of Seoul. And I went to that address, and I knocked on the door, and a man answered the door. It was not a very nice area of Seoul. There's some mud streets outside of it. I knocked on the door, and Unsuk answered the door, and her eyes were bloodshot, and she seemed to be in shock. She didn't recognize, there was no recognition whatsoever. And this man came to the door and kind of barked something in Korean, and I said to the translator, what did he say? And she said, he wants to know who you are. And I said, well, tell him that I'm a photographer. And I started explaining who I was, and he interrupted, and she said, he says he knows who you are. What do you want? I said, well, tell him that I was asked by this little girl's grandmother to find a family for her, and he said, I'm her uncle. She's fine. You can leave now. So I was, the door's being slammed in my face. It's incredibly cold. I'm trying to think, what would the hero do in a movie if I was writing this as a movie script? So I said, listen, it's really cold. I've come a very long way. Do you mind if I just come in for a minute? I'm freezing. So the guy kind of reluctantly let us in, and we sat down on the floor, and as we started talking, I saw him yell something, and Unsuk came and brought us some food. And I had this whole mental picture of sort of like Cinderella. I sort of had this picture of this incredibly wonderful, bright, happy little child who now appeared to be very withdrawn, being enslaved by this family. And I was really appalled, and I couldn't figure out what to do. And the more I tried talking to him, the less friendly he was getting. So I finally decided, I said, look, this is all through the translator, because this is all, I don't speak a word of Korean. And I said, look, I'm really glad that Unsuk had a family to live with. I was very worried about her. I made a promise to her grandmother, your mother, that I would find a family, and now I'm so happy you're going to take care of her. I said, but I bought an airline ticket. I'm stuck here for a week. And I said, I'm staying at a hotel downtown. Would you like to come have lunch tomorrow? And you can practice your English, because he told me, I was trying to ask him questions about himself. And so I went to the hotel, and I found two older Amerasians, a girl whose mother had been a prostitute, and she was a prostitute, and a boy who'd been in and out of jail. And I said to them, look, there's a little girl who has a tiny chance of getting out of here and going to America. And I said, I don't know if it's the right decision or not, but I would like you to come to lunch tomorrow and tell the uncle what it's like to walk down the street, what people say to you, what you do for a living. And just, I want him to understand what happens if she stays here. And I could be wrong, I don't know, but I wish he'd come tomorrow. So these two came to lunch, and we got thrown out of the restaurant. They were yelling at him. It got to be really ugly. We went outside. He was just furious, and I knew I had totally blown this whole thing. Here I was again trying to figure out what to do. And he started yelling at me, and I said to the translator, okay, tell him to calm down. What is he saying? And she said, well, he's saying, who the hell are you to walk into my house, some rich American with your cameras around your neck, accusing me of enslaving my niece? This is my niece. I love her. She's my sister's daughter. Who the hell are you to accuse me of something like this? And I said, look, I said, you're absolutely right. I don't pretend to understand what's going on here. I said, all I know is I've been photographing a lot of these children. And I said, I am in love with your niece. I think she's an incredibly special child. And I said, look, I will fly my friends over here from the United States if you want to meet them to see if you approve of them. I just think that what little I know about the situation, she has very little chance here of having the kind of life that you probably would like her to have. So everyone told me afterwards that inviting the prospective parents